In 2000, Blockbuster was a household name. They had everything. They had everything they needed to destroy Netflix before it even got started. They had 60 million customers, they had 6 billion in revenue, and most importantly, they had data that Netflix could even dream of. Customer preferences, they had rental agreements, they had rental patterns, inventory optimization. They knew exactly what the customers wanted to watch most of the time, or the weekends, in their daily lives that they were going about. So, why did a company with 9,000 stores lose to a startup mailing DVD service operating out of a warehouse? This wasn't about late fees or convenience. This really wasn't about that. This was a result of perhaps the most catastrophic data blindness in business history. I'm Shirish, and this is Data Stories, where data disasters perhaps might become your competitive advantage. Picture this, it's the year 2004. Blockbuster is everywhere, everywhere. Every Friday night, families pile into these blue and yellow temples of entertainment, kids running around everywhere, parents debating what they wanted to watch, employees restocking shelves. It was a recurring scene in most towns, in most small towns, or even big ones. And it was something big. It was a thing that became part of people's lives. But here's what you didn't see. Behind every rental was a gold mine of data. Every transaction, every browse, every return, Blockbuster was collecting customer intelligence that would make even Amazon jealous today. Meanwhile, Netflix is shipping DVDs from a warehouse, burning through investor cash, and desperately trying to figure out what customers actually wanted. Do you see the difference? Netflix had the most amazing suite of information and data, but they used it very differently to how Netflix, who didn't have perhaps abundance of data, one used it as a perhaps to do inventory, and the other one really worshipped that data, and they really wanted to know what customers wanted and who survived, right? We all know the story, how the story ended. Everyone thinks Blockbuster died because of late fees and perhaps convenience. That's the story perhaps we tell ourselves. People didn't want to be driving to the store, the late fees were just terrible, and they didn't really care about the customer. Streaming was inevitable, it was just the way it was meant to be, and Blockbuster didn't really pay attention to what was happening in the market. There might be some truth to that, yes, but perhaps that's not the whole picture. In 2004, Blockbuster was still growing strong. In 2005, they launched Blockbuster Online to compete with Netflix. They even eliminated their late fees. The real problem? Blockbuster had the best customer data in entertainment history, but treated it like a receipt that you throw away. Let me show you exactly what they knew and what they ignored, and how it could have changed everything. Let me paint you a picture of the data empire Blockbuster was sitting on. The first data asset they had was the perfect geographic intelligence. Blockbuster knew exactly what every neighborhood wanted to watch. A store in downtown New York might be interested in romantic comedies and action films, and they were popular on Thursdays. A store in suburban London perhaps was interested in foreign films and documentaries. They knew exactly. They had this hyper-local demand patterns that even Amazon today might struggle to have. Netflix was guessing what to mail where, whereas Blockbuster knew exactly. Second data asset they had was complete customer journey. Mapping every customer, had a rental history going back for years. Sarah from Phoenix might rent action movies on Tuesdays, but when her kids come over, she watches comedies. Mike from London is really interested in sci-fi series, but only on weekends. They knew seasonal patterns, family dynamics, viewing habits, day by day and over years. Netflix had to infer this information from the written data. Blockbuster watched it happen in real time. The third data asset they had was real-time inventory intelligence. What does that mean? Blockbuster knew exactly which movies were hot even before everybody else. They knew that they saw Spider-Man 2 was flying off the shelves in test markets before it went nationwide. They could predict the demand spike, optimize for that, and stock the shelves of the stores accordingly. Employee intelligence network. That was their fourth data asset. They had 9,000 stores, 60,000 employees. Each one was a data point collecting customer feedback, their customer feelings and preferences, trends. They had human-powered recommendation engine that made Netflix algorithm look just primitive. Netflix had to build algorithms to guess what Blockbuster employees knew from just talking to customers every day. So with all this incredible data, how did Blockbuster lose? 3 catastrophic decisions that ignored everything their data was telling them. Mistake 1 they made was to think that they knew best. They thought that one size would just fit everybody. They optimized for stores. Their data was showing very clearly that there were different customer segmentations were emerging. Convenience seekers who wanted everything delivered, binge watchers who wanted unlimited access, price sensitive people who are perhaps wanting better predictable costs. Their data telling them the story, build different products for different customers. What did they do? They kept trying to force everyone to the same model and everyone to come to the store. They did not understand the story that the data was telling. Mistake number 2 was to underestimate the power of that data. They treated data like what you might see in a rearview mirror. They only used it for very specific things and they didn't really understand how to use that incredible wealth of data that they had. They use it for inventory management. That's mostly it. They'd look at last month's rental to stock this month's shelves, right? They had predictive intelligence goldmine just everywhere. They had employees telling them how customers were feeling, but they ignored all that. Meanwhile, Netflix was using limited data to build recommendation engines that predicted what content to license, what content to store, ship, all of those things. Mistake number 3 really perhaps was a very common problem even in modern enterprises, which is data silos. They siloed their data intelligence store managers with everybody else. So for example, their data intelligence store managers knew their customers. Corporate knew the industry trends. Inventory teams knew what the demand pattern was. But they didn't really talk to each other. They didn't really combine this information to get better information or better data to predict what could happen. They just went about their business as they have done for years. That was perhaps the biggest mistake they made. Netflix built their entire company around centralizing customer intelligence. Blockbuster trapped their customer insights in 9,000 separate places. Okay, now we know what they perhaps didn't do well. If we were in their shoes, how could we have done better? Let's take a look. The first step we need to take is have a customer-centric data architecture. Instead of organizing data across hundreds and thousands of silos across their different organizational branches and offices, have a customer-centric data architecture and create a unified profile showing that each of their customers' rental history across all locations and their viewing patterns, their family viewing patterns, and so on. Using this data, then we can build a personalized experience. Sarah from New York walks into the store, and any store, we know exactly what she might want to buy or to rent. When she calls customer service, we know their viewing history. When she goes online, her preferences are already there. We have thought about the customer in many different ways, and the customer will appreciate that attention to detail. But we cannot do that without having that unified customer-centric data. Second step we need to take is predictive content strategy. Blockbuster's data could predict hit movies before studios knew that they were hits. Use store-level demand patterns to identify trends early. License the content that using your data and understand which movies are more popular than others. And you would be able to do that in far advance compared to Netflix. Even knows that movie perhaps even exists. Using geographic intelligence to license regional content that Netflix may have ignored. Third step is hybrid experience innovation. Their data showed customer segmentation very, very clear. Build different products to suit those different customer segments. For convenience seekers, how home delivery with in-store pickup options. For social viewers, enhanced in-store discovery experience. For binge watchers, unlimited rental subscriptions. And the step 4 we might need to take is a data-driven real estate strategy. Instead of closing stores, transforming them based on local data. High convenience areas becoming fulfillment centers and entertainment districts become experience destinations. Use local data and local customer experience teams in those areas and build customer patterns to create world's first omni-channel entertainment. That would have saved Blockbuster. Really understanding the theme we are really talking about here is really understanding the data and really focusing on the customers and their needs. And the only way to do that is to understand the data that customers are generating. Instead, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy in 2010. Netflix reached 260 million subscribers and 30 billion in revenue. But here's the crazy part. It didn't have to happen. Blockbuster could have just wiped Netflix off the face of the earth without even thinking about it if they had that foresight to use the data that they abundantly had. Reed Hastings, Netflix CEO, later admitted that in the early 2000s, Netflix was vulnerable. They were burning cash, struggling with logistical problems, and desperately trying to understand customer preference. Blockbuster had every advantage: customer relationships, physical infrastructure, brand recognition, and most importantly, complete customer intelligence. The difference? Netflix treated their data like oxygen. Blockbuster treated their data like something that they had and they just had to deal with it. Like paperwork, perhaps. Let's take a look at perhaps what are the lessons that we can take away from this experience so that we don't make the same mistakes. The first lesson is data advantage is absolutely temporary. Blockbuster's customer intelligence was only valuable if they acted on it. In the data age, insights expire very, very quickly. Use them or lose them, as simple as that. And that's really, really important lesson to understand. And the second lesson to understand is organizational structures beat data quality. Blockbuster had better quality than Netflix. They just couldn't use it because it was stuck in all of these different silos across perhaps North America and perhaps across the globe. Netflix had worse data, but they built their entire company around how to leverage the data that they had, that the scarce data that they had. And they won. And the third lesson is data strategy is business strategy. That's just a fact. This wasn't a technology failure. It was a strategic failure that was made because they completely misunderstood the point of the data and the insights that it was bringing. Blockbuster saw data as an operational support. Netflix saw it as something to give them a competitive advantage so that they can beat this mammoth organization. In 2025, every company is a data company. That's it. We just have to accept that. The question isn't whether you have good data, it's whether your organization can actually use it, utilize it, so that you can serve your customers better than your competitors. So to wrap up, having data isn't enough. Using data and utilizing that data to your advantage is everything. If you want more stories where we break down how data decisions shaped business history and extract strategies from those experiences where you can use them today, please subscribe to Data Stories. I hope you enjoyed this session, and next time I'm analyzing how Theranos used fake data to fool investors, employees, patients for over a decade. The data manipulation techniques they used are disturbing and in some ways impressive. Thank you so much. I am Shirosh. Thank you for watching Data Stories. And remember, in business, the best data wins only if you actually use it. Thank you and see you next time.